I want to welcome you all, professionals and amateurs alike, to the 18th United States Open Championship.
It's a story unbelievable in a way.
You do double takes. No, come on. Some of this is not real.
But it actually happened.
This is the original underdog story in American sports. At the turn of the 19th century, golf was an elitist game played by gentlemen amateurs. The role of the golf professional was still quite primitive. Society did not see these men as athletes, but as laborers, second-class citizens who were banned from clubhouses and confined to their pro shops. A far cry from the equipment emporiums we know today, they were rough shacks where resident pros spent their time hand-carving wooden heads and replacing brittle hickory shafts. Harry Vardon was just such a man. He had grown up in poverty on the Isle of Jersey and sought to use his golf talent to gain acceptance into the higher echelons of English society. Harry's legacy in the sport was cemented not only by 62 professional victories, including a record 6 British Opens, but also by the fact he originated so many facets of the game we now take for granted. Constantly working to improve the golf pro's image, Harry dressed as if the course was his office, designing the soon-to-be traditional golfer's wardrobe that earned him the nickname the Stylist. He was the first to wear +4s to avoid dirty cuffs, and a tight Norfolk jacket that restricted upper body movement and stabilized his swing. Harry also perfected the interlocking grip. We still call it the Vardon grip, and it's used by most golfers today. In 1900, Vardon became the first professional athlete to endorse a commercial product, Spalding's gutta-percha golf ball dubbed the Vardon Flyer. To promote the ball, Spalding sent Vardon on a tour of America where golf was still in its infancy. For most of the tens of thousands who turned out to watch him, it was the first time they'd ever seen the game played. In addition to winning 76 straight exhibition matches, Harry was also asked to demonstrate his product indoors. In many towns he visited, department stores set up nets, into which Harry hit balls for 6 to 8 hours a day. In 1900, Francis Ouimet, just 7 years old and living across the street from the country club, had just begun working as a caddy. He was part of the first generation of Americans to grow up loving the game of golf and idolizing its greats. It's no surprise that when Harry Vardon visited Boston on his tour, Francis went to Jordan Marsh department store to see him. Harry's tour climaxed with his victory at the 1900 U.S. Open, and he returned to England as the undisputed world champion. But Vardon would not make the trip back across the pond for another 13 years, as he battled a bout of tuberculosis that nearly claimed his life. During this time, young Francis Ouimet honed his golf skills, first on a backyard course he built with his brother, and later on New England courses where he earned his first amateur tournament victories. When Harry Vardon finally regained his health, he returned to America in 1913 with another British champion, Ted Ray. And against all odds, Francis, now 20, found himself playing against his idol as a competitor in the United States Open. And therein hangs this tale. On the eve of the Open, Francis lost his caddy to a professional who, if he won, promised to pay the caddy a small fortune. After being collared by a truant officer for missing school, his replacement, Jack Lowry, failed to show up for the Open's first round. Jack's little 10-year-old brother Eddie came instead and offered to carry Francis's bag in his place. With only 10 minutes to go to his tee time, a desperate Francis agreed to let Eddie caddy for him. It wouldn't take him long to learn that he had gained an ally wise beyond his years, capable of giving good advice and settling Francis's jumpy nerves. The 3 days that Francis and Eddie worked together to win the 1913 Open blossomed into a lifelong friendship. Eddie went on to find his fortune as a car dealer and used his millions to become a great patron of the game, sponsoring dozens of noted amateurs, among them U.S. Open champion Ken Venturi. In 1967, Eddie served as a pallbearer at Francis's funeral. Francis Ouimet's victory in the 1913 U.S. Open changed forever the perception of the sport in America. No longer was golf just for the upper classes. It became a game that everyone could enjoy. All around the country, young kids and caddies who had never seen a future in golf began playing the game in earnest. Among them were some of the game's true immortals: Gene Sarazen, Bobby Jones, Ben Hogan, and Byron Nelson. Francis won the U.S. Amateur title the very next year, the first man to win both the Open and the Amateur. And if it hadn't been for a young man named Bobby Jones, he would still be considered the greatest amateur in history. When Jones retired in 1930, Francis won his second amateur title the very next year. At that pinnacle, with 2 amateurs and 1 Open to his credit, Francis announced his retirement from the game. When golf's Hall of Fame opened in 1944, its first 4 inductees were Walter Hagen, Bobby Jones, Gene Sarazen, and Francis Ouimet. Francis firmly believed in the principles that the game encouraged: honesty, self-reliance, perseverance, and respect for your fellow man. And he embodied those characteristics not only in golf, but in life. In 1949, he established a scholarship fund for underprivileged caddies, kids like he and Eddie, who had never had a chance to go to college. The Francis Ouimet Scholarship Fund is still going strong today and has sent over 4,200 kids in the New England area to college. It is no overstatement to claim that every American who casually or passionately plays the game of golf for fun, companionship, competition, or recreation owes Francis Ouimet a debt of gratitude. Francis truly was the father of golf in America.